Our financial system profits from keeping you in debt and spending your money. I learned this the expensive way by piling up $40,000 in debt, but I broke free, and today I want to show you how I built $500,000 worth of net worth by understanding this and pushing back against the system that tries to keep me in debt. My journey to financial freedom wasn't straightforward, and I had to pass several milestones before I could accumulate wealth. And the biggest obstacle at the start of all of this was my debt. It prevented me from even beginning to build wealth, and it took me a while to realize that the first step to becoming wealthy isn't investing, it isn't saving, it's getting out of debt. The moment that I decided to change my financial direction was a turning point, and I learned an important lesson about building wealth that I still apply today. These lessons helped me to transition from being trapped in debt to actively growing my net worth. And by sharing my experience, I hope to help you avoid those traps and to get you started on your path to real wealth. Why do we fall into debt in the first place? This probably depends on who you are and where you are in your life. For me, the beginning was it's just what you have to do because I was planning to go to school, so I knew that I was going to have to take out a student loan since I didn't have the money, and then I would just pay them back over time. For others, it may be that you're spending money on things you just can't quite afford yet, like maybe borrowing money for a car or using your credit card to buy designer clothes, getting an expensive watch. I like to play music, so I would spend money buying instruments that were a little bit beyond what I probably should afford, and I would just put them on a credit card and pay them over time. And of course, I'm gonna buy the best that I can, which is also expensive. Now, these status symbols make us feel successful, but they're often funded by credit cards and loans, and this is a dangerous cycle of high interest debt that can really be financially crippling. The perception of wealth is commonly associated with how much money you make or how much stuff that you have. But it has everything to do with how much money you haven't spent and you've set aside for savings or investing purposes. So let's think of this in three different ways. If someone makes $5,000 a month and they spend all $5,000 of it, and they spend this stuff on things like clothes and food and just different items and don't invest or save any of that money or set it aside for the future. And then you have someone else who makes $2,500 a month, but they only spend $2,000 of that, and then they set aside $500 to invest or save. But then you have a third person who makes $10,000 a month, but spends $11,000 going out to dinner, on the payments for their expensive car, the vacation that they went on. They actually spend $1,000 more than they make. Which person is building the most wealth? It's actually the person who's making the least, $2,500, but is setting aside $500 for saving and investing. Now consider this. The average American household carries $6,500 worth of credit card debt, with interest rates averaging anywhere from 20 to 25%. Now that $6,500 may seem manageable, but it could result in you paying 2 or 3 times that amount in interest over time. That's money that could have been used to build wealth, but instead it's just making your bank richer. Just think about the fact that they're charging you 25% for the money that you borrow. And just to look at the other side of the equation, if you were to put $6,500 into a savings account in that same bank, what rate of return would you get? Well, I promise you it wouldn't be the 25%. Depending on your bank, it could be anywhere from 0.01% to somewhere around 5% right now. All the while, if you have a credit card balance to that same bank, you're paying them 25%. Now, if you're buying a car with borrowed money, then you're getting hit with a triple whammy because you're paying interest and losing money on the interest on an asset that's losing value because the car depreciates very quickly. And it also has a limited lifespan, so you'll have to buy another car in a certain amount of time. So you're essentially throwing money away on multiple fronts there. Now, the financial system makes their profits from this behavior. Our system is designed to keep the majority of people broke financially and poor mentally. The key to building wealth is to break through this barrier of excessive spending, and when you use debt to finance your lifestyle, you're essentially spending tomorrow's paycheck today. This leaves you with less money to save and invest or to use for your personal growth opportunities. To truly build wealth, we need to shift our focus from appearances to actual financial health. Out of control spending will kill every opportunity for you to build actual wealth over time. And as in my case, it was pushing me farther and farther away from actually building wealth. You can make a budget and go that route, but you can also set up some things that will give you guidelines and parameters to help you to stay on track even if you don't have a budget. Something like the 75-15-10 rule. With this rule, basically you would spend no more than 75% of your income. That's it. You're capped at 75%. You have to pay your bills and buy your food with that 75%, and then anything else you want goes in that 75%. Once you get to 75%, You can't spend anymore. And then at least 15% of what you make goes to investing. And you can automate this and have this to where it automatically comes out of your account and goes into an investing account that's separate. You use that money to invest in things like whether it's real estate or stock or whatever preference that you have, but 15% is invested. And then 10%, at least 10% is saved. So this would go into a savings account for like an emergency fund, or if you know that you have a down payment for something coming up or a vacation that's coming up, then you can set aside that money for savings. But automate these things to where it automatically happens and you don't have to even think about it. Now, if you can't get to that 75% mark, then you need to cut unnecessary costs. You don't have to be ruthless about this, and it's okay to have fun and do things that you like, just as long as you don't spend more than 75%. If you can live below this 75% mark, then that means that you can put more money into things like investing and help you to build wealth even more quickly. If you want to win in this system, then you have to at least become an investor, because that's the way that you get rich in this economic system. You have to take your earnings and start owning assets. Now, these assets are things like stocks or real estate, just different things that will actually bring in money instead of spending money on things that don't make money. So what does becoming an investor look like? Investing early and consistently allows compound interest to work in your favor, exponentially growing your investments over time. If your employer offers a 401k plan, then you can take advantage of that. A lot of times they'll match the funds that you're putting into the account. So that's kind of free money that you get for using that plan. And also having something like an HSA can help you to boost your wealth. While I do find value in 401ks and IRAs and use both of them in my investment strategies, I actually found for me that I made a little bit of a mistake in depending only on those as my investment. Now, investing in 401ks and IRAs provides a tax advantage for you that is really beneficial. However, if you're wanting to use investment funds in the short term, that's not what these accounts are for. And I made the mistake of relying mostly on the 401ks and IRAs and not putting money in a regular brokerage account. That means that any of the money that I have set aside in those accounts, I can't use until retirement, while a regular brokerage account would have allowed me to remove funds in order to use for personal things. Like, for example, if I were wanting to further my education or start a business, then I could take from the regular brokerage account funds, whereas I can't from the 401k or the IRA without a very large penalty. So if you do have plans of starting a business one day or want to have some money set aside for a big purchase like maybe a home or something like that, then it's good to set aside money in a regular brokerage account for something that you'll need down the road in a number of years, like maybe more than 5 to 10 years, something like that. Now, in my personal journey from $40,000 in debt to $500,000 of net worth, I began implementing these strategies step by step, and I started by analyzing my spending and aggressively paying down my debt. I did take advantage of my employer's 401k match, but once I was debt-free, I began exploring other investment opportunities. I also focused on increasing my financial literacy. I think it's really important that we understand what we're investing in and how we're investing. So increasing our financial literacy helps us to really be educated on what we're doing and why we're doing, and we make better decisions as a result. And also educating myself on the different asset classes, all of the different investment opportunities, so that I can make an informed decision there as well. So now there's a lot of options out there. You could invest in real estate. You could invest in stocks that have dividends and provide you a dividend as well. Now, along this journey, I actually did purchase real estate. It was in the form of my home, but I purchased one of the smallest homes that I could find because at the time I didn't have a family and I didn't need all the room. So I just bought a very small house, a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And then after holding on to the house for about 10 years, the value of the home increased by about 50%. And this whole time since I bought such a small house, I was paying a mortgage that was around $400 less than any rent that I could pay around the area. So I saved money by not paying rent. I invested in a small home that was really affordable and well within my budget, and actually came out with a 50% increase on the end of that. Now, the key to success is consistency and patience. Building wealth will not happen overnight. It didn't happen for me overnight. It took a while, and I'm still in the process, in the middle of my journey of building wealth. But by consistently applying these principles, you can transform your financial situation. Remember, the goal is not to look wealthy, but to actually become wealthy. This means focusing on growing your net worth rather than your social standing. It's not about looking rich, it's about being rich, which by definition means you're not buying that nice thing. At least not until you've got a nice chunk of investments that are making money for you that can overcome the price of that. It's about creating a solid financial foundation that can support your goals and your dreams, whether that's starting a business, pursuing education, or achieving financial independence. Now, when I understood the importance of getting out of debt, I started on a journey to transform my financial situation. However, this journey was not without setbacks. There were times whenever I was tempted by the 0% interest offers on credit cards. While these seemed like good deals at first, they often delayed my progress by encouraging me to take on more debt. And like I said, for me, this was things like musical equipment and things like that. but it just really delayed me getting to where I wanted to be because I thought it was a good deal. Now, once I was debt-free, I shifted my focus to building wealth. I started maximizing my retirement contributions. As much as I could put in, I would put money into those contributions, taking advantage of my employer's 401k match. I also opened a Roth IRA to diversify my retirement savings options, and I didn't stop there. Recognizing the importance of having accessible funds before retirement, I also started to invest in taxable accounts. Now, this allows me to have options. So in the event that something happens to what I'm doing for my occupation now, I would have the option to use money that I had invested, perhaps maybe to start a business or to further my education. Whereas with all of the money that's invested in retirement accounts, that money's locked away until retirement. I can't use that money for those types of things. So I feel that for me, having a taxable account that I can dip into is one of the big things that I need to have in my life. Now, depending on your goals and objectives, that may be something that you find valuable as well. Diversifying your income streams can be another key strategy in building your wealth. You can pursue side hustles and freelance work. You can use that extra money to accelerate your investments. You can also explore passive income opportunities such as dividend-paying stocks and rental properties to create additional cash flow. This is especially useful for your taxable accounts where you can use that money to begin to further invest and to increase that cash flow. By consistently applying these principles and minimizing expenses, paying off debt, investing regularly, and diversifying income, I was able to transform my financial situation. Now, my journey from $40,000 in debt to $500,000 net worth was not always easy, but it was undoubtedly worth it. And I'm not done yet. This is just the beginning. It requires discipline and patience and a willingness to learn from mistakes. But most importantly, it required a shift in mindset from focusing on appearances to prioritizing real financial health and wealth building. Now, if you do want to educate yourself more on investing and understanding the different options that you have, whether it's dividend stocks, or ETFs, or individual stocks, then I've got a playlist here that I recommend right now that you can go to and watch more videos on that. Now, some of the most important things that you can invest in is in those that you love and in yourself. But don't stop there. Keep investing. Until next time.